Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of This, and I'm back here with another video. Honestly, I don't have much to say, so let's just get right into it. But right now, I'm gonna recap everything that happened in a very short way, and then I'm gonna retell some of you what Naruto's abilities are. Now, if you don't really care about the recap and you already memorized some of the techniques that I made up, then just skip to this time. Anyway, let's get right into it. Naruto, growing up through the years, developed feelings towards Ayame, Teuchi's daughter at Ichiraku Ramen, and he was willing to protect her. And even though he was despised by everyone, this person to discover new power that he never knew he had. He learned to control it and became very powerful, and passed his exams, scaring and impressing some of his classmates, especially Sasuke. But after all this, he has to deal with another problem on his hands, and that problem is Mizuki. Now let's get back into Naruto's powers. Essentially, Naruto's powers are the same as Aokiji'S Devil Fruit ability. He can virtually do anything with ice, like literally anything with ice, but he specifically turned it into some techniques that he can use from battle. But again, he can use it in almost any way he wants. So yeah, here are the techniques. The first one is suspension. He can freeze an object or a person and make them more fragile so he can break them entirely, as if it was just like you were breaking a glass jar. But for humans, he will usually just break off their limbs. The second one is trail. He makes a road of ice that he can bend any way he wants and technically just surfs around and attacks from midair, sort of like Todoroki, and occasionally he will use it to walk on water by creating a path of ice in front of him as he runs. Third one is Ice Age. This move just puts him in his element entirely, freezing everything around him in a 3-mile radius. Using this, he can effortlessly just play with around with his opponents and just beat them. He never really does it often because if I say 3-mile radius, like, people in the village are going to get hurt. And he doesn't like them, but there's no point in killing people who actually never hated him to begin with. So he barely ever uses it. Fourth is Makeshift. Now he used this one to just create anything out of ice. Like I said, he can virtually do anything with ice. This technique just allows him to make ice into like any weapon, like a saber, a basic sword, a little kunai, a spear, and like, yeah, virtually anything, just to fight, travel, and relax, whatever he wants. Even a bike, like Aokiji did whenever he just freaking walked around everywhere and just made bikes just to ride on because he was bored. Now, the fifth one is kind of like Superman's ice breath, but he can also use this by just waving his limbs. Like if he just like punch the air, he can release a cold wave of like wind that just hits you, and when it hits you, it also freezes you, and it hurts the opponent a lot. But he hasn't really gotten that much control over it yet because he has to figure out how to direct the attack well. But yeah. Now back to the story. So Mizuki came up to Naruto, keeping up his fake smile as usual, and told him that there was a secret test he had to take before becoming a full-fledged genin. Naruto knew he was lying because he's seen the act that Mizuki keeps up, and it was used in an attempt to hurt him before, but he just plays it off like he was being respectful and acted as if he was being naive, promising Mizuki that he would steal the scroll for him. But as night falls, Naruto, instead of going to Hiruzen's office, went to Teuchi's family in secret to have some dinner, because if anybody found out that he was at their shop, Teuchi would probably lose some customers, because nobody wants to go to a shop that the demon goes to. So while they're eating, Kana, who's Ayame's mother, who I just made up in this series, because I don't think they really mentioned his wife much, notice how her daughter and Naruto interacted, just like feeding each other food and kind of like they were flirting. And she mentioned it to Teuchi, who thinks that Naruto has really grown up and wonders when he's gonna pop the question. So after eating, Naruto just heads into the forest to meet Mizuki, who asks him if he got the scroll. "Sorry, sensei, I forgot," says Naruto with a big smile. Mizuki gets mad and kicks Naruto into the ground. Of course, Naruto let him do this. Mizuki then says, "Useless. I don't know why I expected the Nine-Tails brat to have any ability." Naruto is actually a little shocked to hear this, because in this one he does know about the Nine-Tails, but nobody really told him anything because they were ostracizing him just to make more fun of him because he doesn't know what he is, but they still make fun of him anyway. And in this one, Kurama hasn't made any contact yet at all, aside from healing his wounds. But Naruto's already used to physical abuse. Hurtful words from someone weaker than him definitely don't matter. So he just regains his composure and tells himself that he'll figure this out later. Mizuki keeps taunting him, thinking that it's working, and uses this chance to end the Nine-Tails fox once and for all. But as he gets close, he sees this figure of a giant orange fox just staring down at him with intense bloodlust. Naruto stands up, not even realizing he's doing this, and says, Let me be clear. This village is the worst. Excluding certain people, the village is corrupt to the core. But I don't like backstabbers or traitors. Mizuki backs up scared and goes to use his curse mark seal and turns his body into that of Tiger Man form and says, "You're not the only one with power. Witness what Lord Orochimaru has given me, you demon." He rushes at Naruto with his claws popping out and slashes him thinking that it was over. This is when Naruto poofs into a log and Mizuki gets stabbed from behind by an icicle and he starts to bleed out, also unable to pull it out. He turns around and sees Naruto sitting up in a tree and Naruto says, Now, sensei, attacking a fellow genin is just wrong." Mizuki then says, "What are you talking about? I'm a chunin, you brat," while just bleeding out. Naruto jumps down saying, "Really? Old man there must have gone senile. You can't even beat me." Mizuki in a rage brings out his demon shuriken and throws it as fast as possible, but this just makes his injury worse and he just dies right there. Naruto was ready to break it without breaking a sweat, but Iruka comes out trying to protect him and says, "Run, Naruto!" Naruto sighs as he appears in front of Iruka saying, "It's alright, Iruka-sensei. I'm not the same Naruto I used to be." He used wind release to effortlessly cut the shuriken in half as it approaches them, and the two pieces fall behind him. However, they also land right next to Iruka's side, stabbing into the ground with such force that it creates a bit of a crater. Iruka falls to the ground in shock, as this is really not the same Naruto he's used to. But he's also proud of him, and not even sure that he could hold a candle to his power right now. But also wondering what that power was. It looks like an Ice Keke Genkai, but on a way higher level. As he's thinking this, Naruto extends his hand out to him in order to help him up. Iruka accepts it and tells him to leave before the other ninja arrive and that he'll take care of this. Yuki then says, "Also Naruto, don't ever stop, please, and thank you for saving my life." Naruto then leaves as fast as possible as to not show his face because he's actually crying right now because his favorite sensei just acknowledged him. And as he's leaving, Iruka is also thinking, did he get taller? We go to Hiruzen's office and he just received a report from Iruka about what happened with Mizuki and how Naruto easily defeated him. Hiruzen is very impressed at Naruto's growth but also now knows that there is a threat that may soon attack their village, so he stays on guard. The next day, Naruto wakes up contemplating what he heard about the fox and realizes that must be why he heals so fast. He also wondered if the Nine Tails also gave him this power, but then he dismisses it really fast because even without a single bit of chakra, just even without any chakra, he can use his power, but if he uses some chakra, it can amplify it. He just heads for the academy saying he'll think about it later, and on the way he thinks of where he should put his headband and just ties it around his waist and continues on to the academy. But today, for some reason, people aren't looking at him with disdain and disgust. In fact, some are admiring him, with some of the girls on the street whispering, "I never noticed this, but Naruto is really cute, isn't he?" Naruto is confused at what the hell's going on and just goes on his way. He finally reaches the academy and enters his class on time for once to see Iruka who's waving at him. He waves back and then goes up to his seat by the window and waits for the announcements of his team. But to his dismay, he's not only stuck with Sasuke, who he really finds annoying, he's also stuck with Sakura, who has potential but never actually does anything, and just talks about Sasuke all day. The three are designated as Team 7, with everyone going in the same teams, and Hinata is actually very jealous of Sakura, who's only focused on Sasuke. More and more team captains come in taking their teams and leaving only Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke, because even Iruka had to leave soon, and he also wished them good luck because he knows that Kakashi is really freaking harsh. After approximately 50 minutes of waiting, Naruto is bored out of his mind, but this is when Sasuke starts walking up the steps up to his seat. Naruto says, "Here comes trouble." Sasuke calls out his name and Naruto just looks back at him with an annoyed face and says, "What the hell do you want?" Sasuke is mad and then says, "Listen, I don't care how strong you think you got, don't get in my way." Naruto stands up saying, "I should be telling you that, you don't even have your Sharingan yet." This is when Sakura stands up as well, trying to tell off Naruto for insulting Sasuke, only for both Naruto and Sasuke to tell her to shut it. This is when Kakashi walks in to see the commotion and tells them to calm down, and so they do. Kakashi then calls all of them boring because he sees that he doesn't think that they really have any redeeming qualities and then tells them to meet him on the roof. The three do so and Kakashi then proceeds to tell them his name and then asks them to introduce themselves. Sakura goes first, and then Sasuke, who says he wants power to beat a certain somebody, getting all emo and shit. Kakashi then calls them both boring, making them a little mad, and then he tells Naruto to go next, while also inspecting him because according to Hiruza, Naruto is stronger than he looks. And he's just thinking, it's been a while since I've seen this kid. He's the splitting image of Minato sensei. Let's hope he has the same potential as him. Naruto then says, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, and my dream is to simply become unbeatable, and to protect the people I care about. Kakashi is very impressed that he's aiming so high, but also thinks that he's being a bit naive. Then he stands up telling them to meet him tomorrow at the training grounds, and to not eat anything. Before he leaves, however, Naruto says that he should tell them something about himself, but he just says that it's impossible as it is a secret. Kakashi will then poof, making them realize that it was a clone all along, and then they will go their separate ways. However, as Naruto was leaving, he's followed by Sasuke, who demands he fights him. Naruto refuses because he doesn't care, but Sasuke throws a kunai at him and says, don't underestimate me, Naruto. Naruto catches the kunai and sees Sasuke heading for him. They go into a taijutsu fight with Naruto beating him up to a pulp because he's freakishly strong, and not even using his ice attacks and leaving Sasuke on the ground. As he starts to walk away, Sasuke gets up, staggering, and demands that Naruto use that weird ability of his. Naruto says, your funeral. The ground will start to freeze up as Naruto lets out a cold sigh from his mouth, and then will use makeshift to create an ice lance that he was sent at Sasuke to use the fireball jutsu. The jutsu hits, but Naruto just spins his lance in midair, striking off the fire, and almost hitting and slicing off Sasuke's head, and he closes his eyes in fear, falling to the ground while shaking a bit. Naruto would stop the attack, making the ice disperse as he walks away, and Sasuke would open his eyes to see that he had lost, and completely laid on the ground in despair. Now we go to Naruto, and Naruto, while he was sleeping before the next day, he had a vision of Kurama roaring at him and scaring the shit out of him, and he wakes up to realize that it was morning. He was pretty pissed, cursing out the fox he saw in his nightmare, as Kurama slightly chuckles in his cage. Then he leaves to the designated spot and arrives second to see Sasuke with his bandages on and slightly chuckles. Sasuke scowls at him with anger. Sakura would then arrive to see how mad Sasuke is and how tense the mood is, so she just shuts up. Pretty soon, because he was bored, Naruto started doing two-fingered push-ups until Kakashi arrived. He's then scolded for being late again, but he completely ignores it and just starts explaining what they're doing today. He then puts the bells at his sides and tells them to go. As he says this, both Sasuke and Sakura run into the bushes, hiding themselves using their training, and leaving Naruto, who's standing in front of Kakashi and is reading a book, Makeout Paradise. Naruto then asks him, aren't you gonna drop the book? Kakashi says, no, I don't really need to. You don't seem that strong, kid. Naruto says, is that really what you think of me? You're making a big mistake. Kakashi says, yeah, well, unless you can chain. Naruto appears in front of him, and Kakashi is surprised. Naruto then knocks the book out of his hand and then aims to punch him in the stomach. Kakashi smacks his hand away and spins around to kick him. Naruto ducks and then aims and succeeds in sweep kicking him. As Kakashi falls, he sees Naruto using his makeshift ability to create a gauntlet of ice that slams into his face, and Sasuke is completely shocked, looking at how Naruto uses his abilities and how high his control is. But then Kakashi poofs, surprising all of them. His real body then walks out of the forest and he says, you surprised me, kid, but I'm not losing that easily. He then thinks, and he's really impressed about how Naruto can just control his ice that way because he's not even using any hand seals or anything. Sasuke then jumps out of his bush, taking the chance to throw a bunch of kunai at Kakashi, but as he dodges, Sasuke also uses this chance to use his Phoenix Flower jutsu, launching 4 rapid fireballs at him. Kakashi is caught off a bit, but manages to use a mud wall that protects him. Sasuke then says, damn it. Naruto then takes advantage of the smoke created by the bit of fire and the confusion, and sends a Shadow Clone at Kakashi. And as soon as the Shadow Clone forces Kakashi out, it gets beaten up, obviously. But then Naruto jumps in the air, creating another Shadow Clone that throws him at Kakashi at high speeds, and then it poofs. Kakashi, who just ended the clone, then gets hit in the face by Naruto's Ice Gauntlet finally, which is also enhanced by Wind Release, and he gets slammed to the ground, making a big-ass crater. Kakashi is knocked out unconscious on the floor, and this shocks Sasuke and Sakura. And Sasuke is a little bit tired, not too tired from using the other jutsu, the fireball jutsu, but that's what makes him even more mad because his reserves aren't as big as Naruto. Naruto is an Uzumaki. Sakura then thinks, is this really the same Naruto? He's so much stronger. Well, Sasuke is stronger, right? Naruto then proceeds to take the bells from Kakashi and throws one of the bells at Sasuke, which hits the ground in front of him, and he spitefully picks them up, leaving Sakura with none at all. She saw how useless she was in the situation, and she's just sitting there and looks down a bit depressed. Because even Naruto, who she used to belittle, far outclasses her now. Kakashi is starting to get up slowly, and with a broken nose and a bit of blood is coming out, he completely is bewildered, and he asks, What is that power? You don't even use any hand seals, you just do it. I mean, it's impressive, don't get me wrong, but your abilities don't make any sense. Naruto helps him up and says, well, that was barely any of my power anyway, but yeah, I guess it's impressive. Kakashi chuckles, thinking that this kid is acting a bit arrogant. Naruto then says nothing and walks over to pick up his book, and then using suspension, he crushes it in his hand. Naruto then says, that could have been your head, your arms, your heart, but I can't kill off my own sensei, can I? And about my powers, honestly, I don't know, I just do it. It's kind of natural to me. It's been 5 days since, and currently the team has been doing low-ranked missions. So Sasuke is now filled with ambition to beat Naruto, and now he has time to do so because they're not doing big deal missions. And he trains harder than ever. And he just needs one more push before he can get into Moe. Just a little push. Naruto was also working on something else, but it wasn't really much of technique, as it was just like transportation needs. He wanted to find a place to hold his food and equipment because one, he gets really hungry, and two, he just wants to make things easier for himself. So he finds a way to use scrolls to seal things in it and hold it for him, like food and kunai. And he also worked on mastering his wind nature and did a shit ton of weight training on the side because he always gotta get them gains, and getting even more buff. And now he slightly towers over Sasuke because him and Ayame always cook together, so he's very well fed, he's picky, and his meals are very nutritious. Eventually, however, they do get bored of the same old boring missions, and the next day Team 7 go to Hiruzen's office to complain. Naruto then says, these missions are so boring and useless, can't you give us something else? Hiruzen then says, are you sure you're ready for it, Naruto? I mean, you look stronger than before, but to me, looks don't really mean much. Naruto is frustrated and says, okay, look, me and Sasuke beat Kakashi. These are jonin, that definitely means something. Hiruzen knew this and just wanted to see how Naruto would react and says, fine, I will give you an escort mission, but don't you dare fail it. Naruto laughs and he says that he won't, and this is when Tazuna slams the door open and he enters holding a gourd full of booze, and of course he's very drunk. And then he proceeds to insult everyone, yes, even Naruto, because as far as he sees, Naruto still looks like a brat. Ice then starts to cover the room and everyone is freezing almost to the point where they just start shaking uncontrollably, even Hiruzen. And once he realizes this, Naruto stops because he was causing it out of anger, and he walks out of the room very pissed, saying he will meet them at the gate. Tazuna is very scared, but Kakashi and Hiruzen are more baffled at the fact that Naruto still hasn't gotten control over his anger despite being so strong. And Naruto goes to his house and sees Ayame, who's waiting for him. Naruto then asks, hey, are you sure it's fine that you're here? Ayame then says, don't worry, my dad doesn't mind. In fact, he told me to do this for you. Naruto then whispers under his breath, thank you. She then hands him his equipment as he puts it in a scroll and thanks her, but says that he's sorry that he can't hang out. She says she understands because, of course, he has to work as a ninja. And Ayame, before he goes, says, before you go, I want to do something. Can you lower your head for me? Because Naruto is a bit taller than her. Naruto does so, a bit confused as to why she would ask him to do this, and when all of a sudden he feels the warm hand of, Ayame patting him and ruffling his hair. Ayame then says, I'm really proud of you, Naruto, and she smiles. Naruto feels as if he was just blessed by a goddess, and thanks her while running out the window and waving goodbye to her. He then meets the others as they notice that his personality completely switched, and he looks really happy for some reason, and it's really weird. And Kakashi's just thinking, is he bipolar or something? Now they've been walking in the forest for a while, and soon Kakashi and Naruto notice the puddle. Now Naruto isn't a super genius with level intellect, like super genius level intellect, he's just being really logical and guesses that it's a genjutsu. And Naruto says, is that seriously the best you could do? He uses a genjutsu like this when it hasn't rained in days. Kakashi thinks, good work, Naruto. This is when the demon brothers come out and reveal themselves. Instead of saying anything, they just aim for Tazuna right away. Kakashi gets in the way and gets stabbed and is presumed out of the fight. Naruto uses his ice shards to pin them on a tree by piercing their shoulders and then pulls their masks off to reveal who they are. Instead of Naruto feeling frustrated, Sasuke is, because he could not react fast enough. But he could sense that Kakashi wasn't actually dead and says, "Oh, come out already, Kakashi. This isn't the time for your tricks." Kakashi then says, "Great observation skills, Sasuke. Also, great job, Naruto." So, the two demon brothers, why are you here? They refuse to say anything because they don't really have anything to lose. But this is when one of the brothers feels something and it's a little weird. And he looks to see that his index finger is broken out. And he screams in horror, not in pain, because the ice is actually kind of stopping it right now. And of course, yes, this is Naruto. All of them notice this as they see Naruto freezing the other brother's arm. And he screams and begs and says Naruto to just forgive him. Naruto says, "I'll stop if you tell us everything. Besides, there's no point in asking for forgiveness. Either way, I'm probably gonna kill you anyway. But maybe I won't if you tell us what you know. Now spill it." As he's doing this, the rest are very surprised that he could be so ruthless. And Kakashi wonders if he could have beaten him even if he used his Sharingan. The demon brothers just start to spill everything, talking about how they were hired to kill Tazuna by an order of certain someone. As they were about to reveal who they're working for, Zabuza's sword comes out of nowhere and goes for Naruto. But as he dodges, the sword cuts off the heads of the demon brothers and they just see their heads roll on the ground. Zabuza then body flickers to his sword and then pulls it out of the tree, releasing a huge amount of blood lust that makes everyone stay on guard. Naruto was about to attack when Kakashi stops him from moving forward, saying he will handle this, so he should protect the others. He should protect the others and Tazuna. Naruto then says, "Why? I managed to beat you. I'm sure I can help out. Just let me." Kakashi says, "Yeah, but back then I was holding back a bit." He flashes his Sharingan and says, "Besides, you gotta let me look cool for once." Naruto smiles at him and returns to his post, making a kunai from ice, and then Sasuke gets suspicious. "Kakashi, how the hell do you have that eye? Don't tell me you were there that night." Kakashi says, "I'm sorry, I'll have to explain this later," and he moves forward to meet Zabuza face to face. "Oh, if it isn't the copy ninja of the leaf. I'm so lucky to have the honor of killing you, Kakashi Hatake," says Zabuza with a menacing tone. Kakashi then says, "Zabuza of the mist, I presume. What do you want with their client?" Zabuza then says, "All you need to know is handing him over to me will make this so much easier." Kakashi says, "Well, what if we don't?" Zabuza says, "Then I'll have to show you why they also call me the Demon of the Mist." The area starts to get covered in mist so dense that a normal person like Tazuna couldn't even see his own hands. Him and Kakashi then get serious and start fighting, as Kakashi starts to slightly take the upper hand due to his Sharingan. This goes on for a while until Kakashi starts to show signs of exhaustion, so Zabuza takes a different approach and uses his Great Waterfall Jutsu, and Kakashi copies it as the two jutsus clash. After this happens, Zabuza is nowhere to be seen, and the mist just makes it hard to follow where he is. Kakashi tells the group to stay on guard, but as soon as he says this, Zabuza appears in the middle of the group aiming to kill Tazuna. But this time both Naruto and Sasuke react simultaneously and stab him with their kunai. However, to their dismay, it was only a water clone, and they tell Kakashi this only to realize that Zabuza managed to get the drop on him, putting him in a water prison jutsu. Naruto doesn't know what to do, as long-range attacks will just miss, and he can't use Ice Age because it will also incapacitate his teammates, so he's forced to work with Sasuke. Sasuke says just for this once he will listen to his plan, and so they do the same thing as they do in the anime, except this time Naruto, who manages to slightly touch Zabuza, uses suspension, freezing his entire arm and ripping it off before Zabuza releases Kakashi, who is just gasping for air and then thinks the two. Zabuza is on the floor in pain, just writhing in pain, and in a last-ditch effort, he stands up and uses Water Dragon Jutsu, only using one of his hands, so it's a bit weaker. Just when he thought that he was going to get the chance to escape, Naruto jumps at the Water Dragon, surprising everyone, and he uses Trail to just freeze it, and he glides towards Zabuza, who is completely shocked, and behind him, he sees his Water Dragon just shatter, because, Naruto isn't messing around this time. Zabuza is completely shocked because his power is like way too much, and it reminds him of Haku's Kekkei Genkai. Naruto then lands in front of Zabuza, who's completely like just getting overpowered, not even being able to hold his sword properly. So Naruto manages to kick it out of his hand, and then he slams his foot on the ground, creating a bunch of ice to pop out of the ground, a bunch of ice spikes that was about to stab him. And all of a sudden, Zabuza disappears. He reappears behind Naruto in the hands of Haku, who stabbed him with the Senbon and also bit his lip in order not to blow his cover because he was ready to like go off. Naruto then says, "Who are you? And why are you interfering?" Haku says he was a tracking ninja and he was tracking Zabuza because he is a tracking ninja from the mist. Naruto is very suspicious and was about to retaliate when he sees that Kakashi needs to be taken care of right now and brushes it off and thanks Haku, who just leaves as she was in a hurry because, well, her personal master and friend was getting hurt. And yes, Haku is a girl. You're welcome, I guess. And this only made Naruto more suspicious as to why he left so fast, and the hesitation in his voice. Naruto then says, "Kakashi can scold you later, Tasuna. For now, how close are we to reaching the destination? We really need to let him rest." Tasuna then says, "We should be reaching my house soon. He can just rest there." Then they head off and finally make it to the land of waves. They walk in on the bridge to find Tazuna's house with Tsunami waiting outside and worried. As she sees the group coming, she hurries over and helps to bring Kakashi in to rest. And as he enters, Naruto sees Inari covering his face with the hat. He looked really sad, so he waved at him. Inari then says nothing and walks away, leaving Naruto a bit mad. Tsunami then says, sorry for his attitude, he lost his dad a long time ago. I hope you can understand. Naruto says, I actually have this experience. I get it. Tsunami sees his face turn sad and hopes that things will get better, but doesn't press on about the issue. Soon after being bored of staying inside, Naruto decides to leave and Sasuke wants to as well. "What, you want to have a training session with me?" asks Naruto, obviously making fun of him. Sasuke then says, "No, you loser, I want to go train. So I can beat you, I would ask you for help." Naruto then says, "Good luck, because there's no way you're ever beating me." They stare down each other intensely as Kakashi opens his eyes slightly to see them and he's reminded of him and Obito. Sakura, however, feels left out of the loop. So as the two walk out, she attempts to call out to Naruto, only to realize that it won't do any good. She always looked down on Naruto, so he must hate her, and he does. And Sasuke clearly doesn't care like whether she's alive or not. If anything, he's more focused on Naruto than he is on her. This makes her mad, frustrated, and makes her feel very insignificant to the team. Naruto at this time is walking around the village and all he sees is sadness and like kids with the same look he had in his eyes when he was much younger, when he used to be beaten up all the time until he got his power, and he decides that he has to do something about this. He just can't leave this be the way it is. He decides to go into the forest, and Inari, who was outside, actually noticed this and followed him. He found Naruto literally just like beating up a shit ton of animals, and he is amazed and thinks that Naruto looks so cool. Then he's discovered. Naruto notices Inari hiding behind a tree and says, "Hey kid, you want to help me out real quick?" Inari shyly comes out and says, "I'm not as strong as you are, I can't really help you." Naruto says, "No worry, I have an idea, give me a second." Naruto grabs two sticks and uses his power to create a cart from them because the ice would make Inari feel uncomfortable, so he needed something for Inari to hold on to. Inari thinks his ability is so cool, and then they spend more time together and Naruto just kills more animals, and soon they walk out of the forest, with Naruto also having another cart because they did a lot. And of course Inari isn't holding a lot because he's a kid, but he's still helping out. Tsunami sees them walking out and Inari runs to her really happy, which surprises her. Inari then proceeds to explain everything and tears start to run down her face as she thanks Naruto, who smiles at them both and says, "Don't worry about it, it's just a little gift. This is only the beginning of what I'm going to do for you guys." That day, the whole village partied as intensely as possible, making a huge bonfire to dance around, and then they ate a lot of food. Gato heard about this and was pretty mad and plans to definitely do something about it. Over the next week, Akashi, who had recovered, and he just scolded Tazuna. Of course, things went as usual, and he just forgot about it because they got out of it. And then he trained everyone, even Sakura, who was actually more committed to this, and in fact, I actually just found out she had a big affinity to Earth. And by the way, she's not doing this for some chivalrous reason for the team now. She's doing it because she wants to get closer to Sasuke and thinks that if she gets stronger, he will notice her. she's still the same annoying Sakura. Also, Kakashi heard about what Naruto had done, and he's just thinking more and more about how Naruto acts like Minato. And he feels guilty for not even checking on him when he was like a kid and he kept getting like bullied, and it was like in his darkest times. He felt like he disappointed his sensei, and honestly, I think he did. A week had passed with the team leaving to put some finishing touches on the bridge while Naruto was still sleeping snugly. Soon, Naruto feels a hand just slap his face and he wakes up to see Inari almost about to cry. "Why are you crying, kid?" asked Naruto, still kind of like, tired. Inari, in a serious tone, says that his mom is in danger, and Naruto quickly gets up, rushing outside to see what's happening. When he sees the thugs, he uses body flicker to just beat them up in an instant, and gives a thumbs up to both Inari and his mom and runs in to see the mist, and then he runs in to help out his teammates. He sees Zabuza and Kakashi fighting, and Zabuza is losing badly because he doesn't have his other arm. And I'm gonna make it so Naruto took his executioner sword. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. Naruto actually took his executioner sword, and that's why Zabuza came to find it. And he's really like, that's why he has so much like power right now, because he's kind of mad. So when Naruto entered, he was about to attack him, but then Kakashi refuses to disappoint his students again and keeps beating the shit out of him. Sasuke is currently fighting Haku and is doing slightly better, but he's still getting beat by Haku, who was actually about to kill Sasuke, seriously. But Sakura manages to be useful and protects him with the Dome of Earth, making Haku's weapon shatter, which was a kunai. And then Naruto, using his wind levitation, pushes off a footing from the air and misses punching Haku actually, and Haku just easily dodges. Haku then says, "That was fast, but not." Naruto would pop out icicles from his arm, slashing her cheek and then breaking her mask to reveal her face. Naruto will be shocked and he just says, "Is that you? What? Why?" He would have a flashback of meeting Haku and he hates that he has to fight her of all people. Haku realizes that Naruto may have a Keki Genkai just as strong as hers, and so she creates her crystal demon ice mirror surrounding the two, and the earth dome around Sasuke just crumbles and Naruto gives him a hand, which Sasuke refuses, saying, "I don't need your help, not that badly injured." He would get up as his cheek gets slashed, and then soon a lot of Senbon come in, with Naruto using his makeshift armor to just protect them completely, and Haku is just switching from mirror to mirror trying to hit them, but it's not working on Naruto. However, Sasuke is struggling, and even though he's dodging some of them, he does still get damaged. Sasuke's thinking, "I'm so pathetic, I can't even get through this, and I said I would beat Naruto. I can't even keep my word. Maybe he would." Sasuke thinks of that fated day when everything changed and his brother massacred the Uchiha clans, and he thinks, "No, I'll beat Naruto. I'll beat Itachi. I'm not gonna be left behind." Sasuke then gains one Tomoe in his Sharingan, and in this moment he starts doing way better than before. And watching this, Naruto just gets really impressed, and Sasuke just watches Naruto deflect the Senbon like it was nothing, and it made him not want to give up even more. But Naruto then decides to end the situation as it is really dangerous. He creates a huge dome of ice that keeps expanding no matter how much Haku tries to just keep it inside the mirrors. And at this instant, all her mirrors shatter. Sorry, I'm still not used to doing a gender bender. Haku then lands in front of them and coughs up a bit of blood and is filled with a bit of anger because, well, she's being outclassed. But she's definitely faster than him, so she uses it. She uses her speed. As soon as Naruto cancels out the dome, Haku uses a lot of strength to pass Naruto at blinding speed and effectively stabbing Sasuke, who kicks her away pretty confident that the cut wasn't deep enough. But then he realizes that his side is oozing a shocking amount of blood, and he drops to the ground. Naruto then sees this and his eyes widen as he proceeds to run over to his teammate, who is losing quite a bit of blood. Naruto is just saying, "Damn it, damn it, damn it." He uses his ice to stop the blood from flowing out, but realizes that it isn't enough. He starts panicking, and this is when his eyes go blank. "Finally!" exclaims Kurama. Naruto bursts with Kyuubi chakra, which catches the eye of Zabuza and Kakashi, who look back amazed, but also worried. Kakashi says, "Can he control that power?" He gets interrupted by Zabuza, who punches him in the face and almost kicks him off the bridge, but Kakashi manages to get back, into it. And Zabuza says, "No matter what that kid is doing, you're fighting me to your last breath." Naruto unknowingly healed Sasuke out of frustration, even though Kurama did not want him to use his power that way. And he's pretty freaking mad, which amplifies Naruto's energy even more. And he blitzes Haku, barraging her with a bunch of punches that crack her bones. And she tries to block it, and then she slips and starts to fall, seeing Naruto's face just filled with rage, which was about to punch her. And for a moment, she accepts it. She accepts that she might die. She just accepts that this might be the end of the line, but she hopes that she can at least see Zabuza one more time in the afterlife. As her head hits the ground, she closes her eyes only to feel the wind gently hit her face, and she opens her eyes to see a normal Naruto, holding back his fist while crying. Why? Why did I have to fight you? I wanted to be your friend. Why does this always happen to me? Says Naruto, while really sad, obviously. Haku monologues about how ninjas are only tools and that this was bound to happen. They're gonna kill each other, they're gonna do stuff like this. It's inevitable. You should just do it. However, Naruto argues that notion and changes her mind using his powerful speech. And at this point, Naruto also looks back to see Sasuke being helped up by Sakura and Kazuma, and he's very relieved because he thought he actually died. And for some reason, he's just wondering, why do I care if he... Why do I... never mind. At least that idiot is still alive. The two then put thumbs up at each other, and then they all look to see the battle between Kakashi and Zabuza. And Zabuza is losing badly, but he's not stopping. He's like a machine. He sees that Haku was okay, and sees her waving at him, but he ignores it as to not get emotional. And as Zabuza proceeds to monologue about how Haku is just a tool, just like all ninja. Everything should be carnage, because that's all it's gonna be anyway. This world is messed up, and that's just how it is. You just gotta fight, and never stop. And yeah, that's it. And he also requests for his sword back, obviously. And Naruto again uses his powerful speech, which honestly I can only classify as plot armor, and changes his mind for like a quick second. And also requests to take them back to the leaf with them. And he was about to agree when Gato shows up with his gang. And Zabuza takes a deep breath and then smiles. Zabuza then says, Kakashi, can I have your kunai? Kakashi can see from his eyes what he's going to do, and he just fulfills his last wish, as he was one of the best opponents he ever fought. Zabuza thanks Kakashi and is happy that they got to fight. Zabuza then says, hey kid, that sword you took from me? I'll let you have it, but you have to promise me one thing. Take care of her, will ya? He rushes into Gato's men, barely even able to stand up properly, but he's rushing really fast. And Haku is yelling, she's just screaming, telling him to stop, but Naruto has to hold her back because he knows what Zabuza is doing. And eventually he does kill all of them, even killing the bastard himself, Gato. But then he falls to the ground, revealing all the swords and spears that were piercing his back and sides, and Haku was horrified. At this moment, Naruto let her go, and she ran towards him limping, and then she falls down, touching Zabuza's hand. And even though she obviously knew what he did, it was just done in front of her. He's just questioning why. Why did he have to do it? He didn't have to do that. They could have gone to leave together. And Zabuza said, you know that wouldn't work out well. Besides, you deserve a better life than this. With me around, you'll always have to face a lot of people that you don't want to. You deserve a good life. Just do it for me, okay? He dies in Haku's arms as she proceeds to scream in pain so hard that the entire village can hear it. And the villagers actually just came in, about to help out, but then they see the whole scene and they just can't help but just stay quiet and let her mourn. And then soon they bury Zabuza very respectfully because he was a complex person, but in the end, he was a great fighter and he showed his heart, and even sacrificing himself for one last thing. And then another 2 days passed with Haku and Sasuke both having to rest the entire time, but because Sasuke was healed a bit by Kurama's chakra, he healed faster. And that just leaves Haku, who was still resting and just taking all of the, everything that just happened in. But she's healing and she's getting better. And due to his efforts of just helping out the village in general, the bridge gets named after him. The bridge gets called, the Naruto Bridge. Then soon they leave the village with Inari promising that he won't be so negative anymore and that he will help out the village. And on the way back to the village, Naruto is inspecting the sword given to him by Zabuza, but also with a really sad look. And Kakashi is carrying Haku actually. And Naruto is just amazed at how strong it is. Kakashi then says, "So you're really keeping that on?" "Of course I am. It's the only thing that belongs to Zabuza. Besides, it's pretty strong," says Naruto. "How can you even hold that thing? It looks like at least 100 pounds heavier than a normal sword," says Sakura. Sasuke asks to hold it, and Naruto is hesitant, but he just says, "Yeah, sure, why not?" But as Sasuke tries to hold it up, he immediately drops it and sees that his hand is just a bit blistered. And he says, "What the hell is with his inhuman ass strength? He's like a monster." He tries using it with his Sharingan because it boosts his abilities twice, and he can only lift the handle, and the rest is just in the ground in a crater. Naruto then says, "Are you done?" Sasuke, embarrassed, just gives the sword back, and Naruto just easily swings it on his shoulder, and then they continue to walk. As they arrive back to the village, they go straight to Hiruzen's office, and he is shocked about the information he just received, and also congratulates them on succeeding on their mission, but he knew they could do it. But he doesn't know what to do with Haku, and says, "Well, since this is kind of sudden, Haku can live in your house for now." Haku blushes a bit and a little panicky as her heart just starts to thump, but Naruto is just fine and actually ruffles her hair and says, "Sure, she feels like a sister, I don't mind, but we're gonna need some ground rules, obviously." So everything then gets settled, but before everyone leaves, Hiruzen tells Naruto to stay for a bit, with a serious tone. Everyone leaves and Hiruzen begins to talk. "Naruto, that sword, will you give it to me?" "Nah, I'll keep it," says Naruto. Hiruzen then says, "I'm serious, Naruto. That weapon is an essential power that the village needs." "I'm not giving you the sword, old man. This isn't just a weapon. This is a keepsake from someone important," says Naruto with a serious tone. He turns his back to leave when 3 Anbu come out of nowhere to ambush him, but in a split second, they're all frozen solid. "Really? You would order people to attack just a kid because you need military power? Now that I think about it, you're a pretty horrible Hokage, aren't you?" He slams the sword down on Hiruzen's desk, just breaking it in half, and stares down at him with intense bloodlust. "Bring it. I'm not afraid to take on all the ninja in this village if I have to. But don't you dare bring anyone else into this. It will end up like those 3. And unlike those 3, I'll actually finish it." Because obviously he didn't break them or anything, he just froze them in place. He walks past the 3, releasing the ice suspension, and they've just passed out due to the extreme cold, but they're not dead. Hiruzen is completely scared shitless because he thought he could still handle Naruto if they were to just fight one day, but as he just learned, he cannot. Naruto then sees the others waiting for him outside, and they just leave together. Kakashi then tells them that he might recommend them for their shooting exams, and this time Sakura is a bit more pumped, along with Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto then says goodbye to them and to Haku because Haku can't come to his house right away. She has to stay in the hospital for a bit until she's allowed to get out. And he says that he will come see her at the hospital, obviously just because, again, he's like a sister to her, but he doesn't know how she might feel about him because he still likes Ayame. Days pass and eventually Kakashi confirms that they will be taking the exam, so the team starts working separately and gets stronger. Naruto swings the executioner sword almost daily, making his back muscles very refined and strong, and lifting a sword at this point is not a big deal to him. And he hasn't found out its special ability yet, but he's close to mastering fighting with it. And he also found out he just bought a scabbard for it, a brand new one, and it just keeps on his back. And he also learns a move that increases his speed by a lot when he covers himself with ice and moving so fast that all you will see is a whitish blue. Aokiji used this ability when he was I think it was when Marijois, and he just moved from his seat instantly down to the battlefield and just froze the freaking sea. That's pretty freaking dope. But yeah, anyway. But of course he does he does try to do much more stuff, not just learn that move. He learns to increase his range when he's firing his attacks, but he does that on a mountain as to not freeze the village. Sasuke, honestly, he's just been training with Kakashi, just like in the original, and he learns the Chidori pretty fast, and I'll say he can use it about 7 times a day, just because. I think it was about 4 times a day in the original. I can't really remember. That's a annoying detail. So yeah, he also unlocks 2 Tomoe. And as for Sakura, I want to say she also learns from Kakashi, who was actually very impressed at how great her Earth style jutsus are, and she gets to control like her natural freakish strength by learning some taijutsu skills. And you guys can choose what Earth jutsu she's gonna use, because I don't really care, honestly. I honestly just racking my brain about it. Anything that concerns Sakura pisses me off. Naruto tries to communicate with Kurama to no avail. However, he cannot access about 4 tails of the Nine Fox power without losing control, but that's about it. It's because Kurama does find Naruto interesting, but his hatred is also a bit stronger than before. But him and Naruto can sympathize because they've experienced a shit ton of hate, and the seal is slightly loosening, and pretty soon they're going to become friends. So during his breaks, Naruto would go to see Haku at the hospital, and sometimes they hang out. And Naruto does feel sad, however, whenever like he can't see Ayame, because, well, I mean, again, like I mentioned it, if he went to the restaurant and he like cadoodled with his daughter, people would like feel weird about coming to Teuchi's. In the original, Naruto went to Ichiraku and it was obvious, but in that way it gets a bit more like into family and people will start to avoid them probably. So he doesn't want to do that. The bad thing is he won't be able to see her until the exam. So when he's with Haku, sometimes he's kind of has this sad face, and Haku can notice it sometimes. It's like he's longing for something. Now we go to the day of the Chunin exams as Team 7 is walking out and Naruto is carrying his executioner's blade, and they find Konohamaru in quite a pickle. And that's where I'm actually going to leave this off. I hope you guys love this part of this what if. If you want to show your support for it, go and hit the like button and then subscribe to this channel, and then hit that bell icon so you can always know when I post these. Honestly, I thought I was gonna make an hour video. I honestly thought that. I wasn't just trolling you guys saying, oh, I'm gonna make an hour special or something. I wasn't expecting it to be a 1 hour video, but looking at the script, I thought it would be. Sorry it didn't. Maybe I'll make another 1 hour special soon, just for fun. Well, fun for you guys, not fun for me, but you get the point. But yeah, if you like it, just hit the like button. And I'm gonna give it a bit of a like goal. Not that I really like care if you hit the like goal or not, but I want to see if you guys can get to 200. I want to see if you can. And even if you don't, I'll still post it up because I love this what if. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.